Welcome back to a new movie franchise ranking here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Stenberg, and today, with the release of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which supposedly is the final film of the main Mission Impossible franchise, it's time to stop and rank all eight entries into this 30-year-old franchise. My name is Max Stenberg. Welcome back, everyone, to Max Talks Movies. If you're new to the channel, guys, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I do these type of movie franchise rankings. I do out of theater reactions every Tuesday. I do a box office breakdown show, and daily I do movie and TV show reviews. So if you like any one of those things, this is the channel for you. Join the Max Talk Movies community by subscribing and ringing that bell. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on the Mission Impossible franchise? What is your ranking? This is just my very subjective ranking. This is one of the most consistent franchises of all time. I'm sure the top seven for sure. We have a lot of different ways we would order it. So let me know your ranking and tell me why in the comments section down below. Also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. One of the most important parts about supporting my channel is hitting that thumbs up. The like button helps YouTube recommend my videos to more people. So without further ado, coming into this, I have done already a ranking of this franchise when Dead Reckoning came out in 2023. So I have done a full-fledged review for both Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning. So if you want full reviews on those movies, they're still here on the channel. These are going to be as quick as I can as we're talking about a movie. So let's talk about one of my favorite franchises of all time and start the ranking of the Mission Impossible films. So starting at number 8 for me is easily Mission Impossible 2. On paper, this should have been one of the stronger Mission Impossible films. John Woo, one of the great, action directors of all time, getting to get into the director's chair. A very good cast with a really good love interest for Cruise, played by Tandy Newton. Hans Zimmer on the score. A lot of things here, film emotion, but this is for me is the only film in the franchise I try not to rewatch, and it's the only film in the franchise, excuse me, that I would give a rotten review to. This just doesn't feel at times like a Mission Impossible movie. It just feels like a stereotypical run-of-the-mill action film. The villain played by Dougray Scott is the worst villain of the entire franchise. Ambrose is not a very interesting character. The look, the feel of the movie, something just feels off through the entire film. And while this could have been an interesting love interest, I think Tandy Newton's character is more interesting not being a love interest than when they kind of force feed her into trying to be a love interest for Ethan Hunt in this movie. Again, this is not a one I rewatch that often. It's the only Mission Impossible film I really don't recommend to people. Coming in number 7 for me is the one that started it all in 1996, the original Mission Impossible, directed by the great Brian De Palma. And it's amazing that this film, which does hold up very good 29 years later, is the seventh of eighth in your franchise. Just shows you how spectacular this franchise is. Now, I'm not saying that this being at number 7 that I don't like this movie. I would give the rest of the films on this list either a 3.5 or higher. This is a very enjoyable movie. And yes, it does feel kind of different from the rest of the films because it's more a spy espionage movie than relying on big stunts and locations and things of that nature. I do like the original crew here. Jean Reno, Ving Rhames, you have a lot of fun actors in this film, which I really enjoy. Henry Czerny as Kittredge. I have a really good time with this movie just because it feels this one compared to Mission Impossible 2 feels different, but for the right reasons. I will say the biggest problem that always holds this movie back for me is just the most predictable twist of the franchise with Jim Phelps, played by John Voight, being the ultimate villain. The movie acts like it's this mind-blowing plot twist, but it's very predictable. And even if you've never seen the movie before, you can probably pick it up once the opening set piece happens. So I always feel like the movie spends way more time trying to tell you this is such an amazing twist. And I've never been a huge fan of the helicopter under the train track scene. It's fine. I just don't think that's the one part of the movie that just doesn't hold up today. Coming in at number 6 for me is Mission Impossible 3, another excellent entry into the franchise. J.J. Abrams directed this one, and It raises the stakes. It's not just does it give Ethan Hunt a love interest, it gives him a wife played by Michelle Monaghan. We have easily in this film one of the best villains of the franchise, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who plays the character of Owen Davian. I think we somehow kind of have also the best uses of the face mask in this movie. The opening set piece with Kerry Russell. Kerry Russell's character is very good. We got the introduction of Simon Pegg as Benji into the franchise. Always holds us back for me a little bit compared to the other films. In the again, we are these films are all very squished together. So I can definitely tell you if you have this one as your number one or number two, I totally get it. This one never has like the best team involved compared to the other movies. We still have Luther, but we have characters like I like Maggie Q, but don't really love her in this movie. We have Lawrence Fishburne as the cops. They have a lot more interest in the cop storyline in this movie. And out of the cop storylines in the franchise, this one is never my favorite. So I like this movie. I don't really love the romance. I actually think Michelle Monaghan is better in Fallout than she is in this movie. But still, I have a blast with Mission Impossible 3. Coming in number five for me is the newest entry into the franchise, The Final Reckoning. I do believe I might be the minority based on what people have been saying. I think this is a great way to close out the franchise. The stakes have never been higher. The stunts have never been more dangerous. This is a film where I get the problems out of the way, as I said in my review. There is way too much exposition in the first 40 minutes. It feels like I'm watching a PowerPoint presentation of the whole franchise in the first 40 minutes of the film. If it's either taught to us or shown to us via so many flashback scenes in this movie, way too much. And I do think the movie, it's 3 hours long. It's way too overstuffed. I think there's way too many characters going on, but I still had an absolute blast. The last hour, hour and a half of this movie is fantastic. The moment they do the submarine underwater scene, from that point on, I absolutely adore this movie. The stunt of under the water and Tom Cruise hanging off that plane in the third act are absolutely crazy, jaw-dropping, and it really puts you on the edge of your seat. The locations are gorgeous. I like that Pom Klementieff had more to do in this one. I like Haley Atwell. I thought overall the government stuff made a lot more sense in this one, and they gave Angela Bassett's Erica Slow a lot more to do, I think, in this one than in Fallout. Yes, is this not top tier Mission Impossible? I guess. I still really, really like this movie. I can't wait to rewatch this for years to come. Coming in number four for me is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, the fourth entry to the franchise directed by Brad Bird. This one I rewatch all the time. I love Ghost Protocol. This is a very underrated team as well, as we have Ethan Jane, played by Paula Patton, Benji, played by Simon Pegg, who's his first time actually in the field, and Brant, played by Jeremy Renner. A really underrated, honestly, my second favorite team of the entire franchise. This scene behind me is still one of the most iconic action set pieces of all time. We have Tom Cruise in the sandstorm climbing up the tallest building of all time, the Kremlin bombing. There is so much awesome, even the breakout scene in prison in the opening sequence, I love. I don't really have much complaints about Ghost Protocol. It feels like the franchise finally hit the next level. I think starting with Ghost Protocol from a scale perspective, there's still some big stunts in the original three films, but feel a lot more down to earth. This is the first time we really opened up the scales of big action set pieces and set up what the franchise was going to turn into. Coming in number three for me is Mission Impossible. Let me find it. Dead Reckoning. Originally, it was called Dead Reckoning Part 1, but due to it kind of bombing at the box office and not wanting to start doing Part 1s and Part 2s, they just got rid of it a couple weeks after its release. So now it's just called Dead Reckoning, the seventh entry. And some people think that this movie is not great. I love Dead Reckoning. Just rewatched it for the third time the day before I watched Final Reckoning. And this movie is 3 hours long, but it is, in my opinion, way better paced than Final Reckoning. I think that's like the big difference. I checked the clock on my time. The first opening sequence when you get in the airport, I could not believe I was nearly an hour 20 into the movie when that whole sequence was over. The movie is, for 3 hours long, really well paced and fast. You feel the intensity and the dread of the situation as you can kind of feel Ilsa's fate throughout the entire film. Vanessa Kirby is awesome in this movie as the White Widow. The fact that from a performance perspective, when she has to play Haley Atwell, when Haley Atwell has to put on Vanessa Kirby's mask, and Vanessa Kirby has to put on that performance in the third act of the movie on the train, that's a really tough performance without feeling cartoonish. Kirby does an excellent job. Haley Atwell is a really good entry into the franchise. Nothing beats as well when Tom Cruise is riding on the motorcycle, falls off the mountain, and parachutes onto the moving train. So, so cool. And I said, I love the airport scene where you feel he is in trouble. You have, Benji going down below to find the bomb. Luther's helping both of them out. There's U.S. military people after them, a pickpocketer on the loose, and then the return of Gabriel, played by Esai Morales. I really, really like that. The return of Kittredge is also very good. My main problem with Dead Reckoning is just the use of Ilsa. It just feels like either Rebecca Ferguson, obviously reports were that she was, she wanted to be written out because if she was just going to be another member of the team, she just wanted to be out of the franchise. She wanted to do more. And I love her with the eye patch in the beginning of the movie, but then she just kind of feels very whatever for the rest of the film. And it's very obvious they were killing her character. And for me, she is one of the best characters of the entire franchise. And they move on from her death so quickly in this movie, way too quickly, but I still love Dead Reckoning. Coming number 2 for me is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I remember growing up with the Mission Impossible films and liking them. Never these are my favorite movies. Rogue Nation gave me such a passion for this franchise. And Christopher McQuarrie, this was the first time he directed a Mission Impossible film, and he made the franchise, took this franchise to the next level in a much stronger way. I absolutely adore this movie. The introduction of Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson, is the best side character for me of the entire franchise. She's a total badass, can handle her own. Yes, has some flirty moments with Ethan, but she can really handle her own. She's not the girl in distress. She can just handle herself, and Ethan can kind of do her own thing. This is the best collection, I guess, of team members when you have Ilsa, Benji, Luther, also the inclusion of Alec Baldwin as Hunley. You also have Brandt, played by Jeremy Renner. The opening is the best opening to any Mission Impossible movie, with Ethan on the side of the plane. So cool every single time. The opera scene, I also just love, and the economic and the logistics behind his fight with the one guy with the flute. Love that scene. As well, and the great twist at the end, and I love Solomon Lane, but the great twist in the end that when Lane is chasing after Ethan, and then they fall, and it's the glass box with the gas that Lane used on Ethan in the beginning of the movie. I love Rogue Nation. This is probably the movie in the franchise I've seen the most. I absolutely adore Rogue Nation. But coming in at number 1 for me is Mission Impossible Fallout. This to me is not just the best Mission Impossible movie, it is one of the best action movies of all time. I've never, it takes non-IP, non-comic book, it takes a lot for me to feel that breathtaking and shocked on how spectacular an action film is in the theater. And Fallout is a masterpiece as pertains to the action genre. Henry Cavill, introduced, is easily the best villain of the entire franchise. As I said, we're on a really good team here where we have Ethan, Ilsa, Luther, and Benji. Lane returning and him being the only person who knows that Ethan is not John Lark is another fascinating element to the movie. The twists and turns revolving around Walker, where it looked like he was working for Sloan. He seemed like the obvious John Lark, and then Sloan turns on him. He turns out to be John Lark. I love the Wolf Blitzer opening sequence a lot. The rooftop chase scene where Ethan's trying to chase down Walker. The helicopter sequence is fantastic. And obviously, the bathroom fight is also so awesome. This is a movie that I really don't want to poke any holes into. It's easily also the best score of the entire franchise. Lauren Balfe was the perfect composer to bring to the franchise, added some drums and different usages of our favorite themes. It's the most intense, edge of your seat this franchise has ever been. I think it's also the most well-made movie of the franchise. I absolutely adore Mission Impossible Fallout, and that is why it is number one. What is your ranking of this franchise? Let me know in the comment section, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.